So I wanted to welcome all of you. Hi, I'm Arinna. And before we even begin, I would like to invite us to a few movements together, just to help us come into our bodies to begin with before anything else. And so whatever is comfortable for you, and you can do some of these sitting or even some of them lying down if you need to. And just like high feet, like just like high. I give you my whole weight, and you're such a small part of my body, but you hold my weight. Like, thank you. And then in that connection, see if you would like to open to receive the communication of life in feet. And as the feet are designed to take it and receive it, letting go of any holding in our legs, just like releasing any holding there and in the hips, the pelvic region, in our stomachs, and the weight of the spine, and shoulders. And then allow the shoulders to be moved towards each other in the front as though two strings were pulling them. And then allow those strings to move the shoulders up, and then allow them to drop down. And in that dropping, feeling the dropping all the way down into the feet and the ground. And again, allowing the shoulders to be moved towards each other, letting go of being the doer, let the string move them up towards the ears, going just as far as is comfortable. And then releasing in the buttocks, in the lower back, in the knees, into the feet and ground. And then opening to the standing without trying to correct anything. This is how it is. And then allow the shoulders to be moved towards the back, stretching through the arms and hands. And then from this place, see how it is as the shoulders are moved up to the ears and down. Just letting that relaxation happen. And again, allow that movement towards each other in the back, the stretch through the arms and hands, and then up. Breathing in for a moment, holding it, and relaxing, releasing. And then allow the head to drop, hang, and if it's comfortable, allow the legs to bend a little bit and the head and shoulders to hang, and it can be just a little hanging, or if it's comfortable for your back, dropping more, you can bend your knees all the way down if you want. And coming up when you're ready, feeling each of the vertebrae coming back into place. The back knows how to do it, so you can relax. And bringing the arms up, up, stretching, 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 and allow them to come down. And one more time, breathing in, stretching and allowing them to come down, feeling the standing, feeling the movement. And then just like shaking. Just like you can just shake any way you want that feels that your body is calling you. Shaking, shaking. We often forget our bodies, so let's just do a greeting. We're going to greet each other in a moment and our hearts, but for now, let's greet our heads. Hi head, hi, greetings, may you be well. Chest and heart, greetings, greetings, lungs, may you be well. Stomach, intestines, greetings, greetings, may you be well. And my back and buttocks, greetings, may you be well. And my legs, greetings and feet, may you be well, may you be well. Arms and hands, may you be well. All that is living that I call body and that I have a name for. Greetings, may you be well. Thank you. Let's sit down. It's easy, especially because mindfulness has become so widespread, as has the picture of the Buddha. Like you go to many Thai restaurants now and there's a picture of a Buddha, and there are pictures of Buddhas in gardens because there's something that calls to people without that necessarily being a calling into the Dharma practice. And I say that because we have the tendency, our habitual mind has a tendency to fall a little bit into the pattern that mindfulness or meditation is about getting something, getting a particular experience, making a particular experience happen. And not exactly buying that, we're far beyond that, right? But something about that movement towards something to make it happen. And that actually isn't mindfulness. When mindfulness is part of the Eightfold Path, it is already a way of relating that has an inspiration connected to the inspiration that you all called. It's not just mindfulness, it is presence or joy or community or connection. So it's already holding a particular perspective. And 3 in particular perspectives. And that's why often at the beginning of practice, if you live in a monastery or practice in a monastery, we always begin with the refuges or chanting, because that frames our practice and our mindfulness, not because it's some ritual that belongs to the East. It's integral, and it's integral in this way, which is so much of our habitual patterns and living in a culture that rather than challenges those patterns, institutionalizes them. We need a very intentional field in which to practice mindfulness. And core of that intentional field is the willingness to believe that we also inhabit and are inhabited by a Buddha nature, all the beautiful qualities that actually guide us even when we feel lost. That we are already this potential capacity and manifested capacity of kindness, of intention, of friendship, of graciousness, of humility, of being undefended, that we have those capacities and we feel called to them. And it feels vulnerable to let go of the ways that we have been taught to defend ourselves, and to be willing to say to ourselves, "Hi, honey, I want to greet you. I want to be present for you just as you are. You do not have to pretend. You do not have to armor. You do not have to reach for something different than what actually is happening right now. Because right now, however you are, is the beginning, and we can't begin without a beginning. We can't make a connection without being connected, and we can only connect with what's happening right now. And that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of grace. It takes a lot of willingness to say, okay, I'm willing to let myself be touched by myself and by the environment of support that we have here. Through the waves, if you're online, or here in this room. And that's what it is to take refuge in the Buddha, is to take refuge in this willingness to begin to meet ourselves as we are. That's the beginning of the path. And to trust that we have everything we need for this journey. That I can say more about that when we come to the second and third refuge. But the Buddha said, as long as you are a human being and being born into the human world, you have the capacity to undefend yourself, to come into connection with yourself, not as anything other than a unique, beautiful, never to be repeated part of life in this world and this galaxy and this universe and beyond that there is something deeply sacred about each of us. And so for this day, we're not insisting that that happen over and over again, because we don't have that kind of control. But we have the capacity to keep inviting it. I know I got lost. I know I'm in a revenge storyline. It's okay. I acknowledge that, and I want you to know I'm here, training to be here, honey. And if I can't quite do it in this moment, maybe in a few moments. And that's one of the themes of this day together, is that we rely not only on presence, not only on kindness, but on that intention, that over and over again we keep intending, because that is the gateway. And more to say later about that. So that practice is the refuge of the Dharma, really. We could say the heart of the Dharma is based on intention, because if there isn't that conscious intention, then it's mostly habitual. And we are rerouting from habitual unkindness to present kindness. Just like if you're planting a garden. Let's say we have a big garden and we have a long row, and I take the seed, may I, from this moment, may I be kind to this body, to my grumpiness, to my revenge story. May I be kind. Drop the seed. Oh God, my back is hurting. Oops, may I be kind to my back, to the hurting. Plant the seed. And we just, moment after moment, it can be that way. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's how change happens. That patient, persistent, each moment, I forgot, what the hell am I doing here? Oh, may I be kind to that forgetting. Plant the seed. And we're all going to do that over and over and over again. It would be fun to count it. Oh, I planted like 500 seeds today. So we taking this field of assuming we are beautiful beings deserving of our love as our Buddha nature. We are planting, intentionally planting these energies over and over again, the energies that you called into being. And then we remember that we're not alone, because aloneness is the root of habitual thinking. Not aloneness, sorry, it's loneliness, that, or the isolation part of loneliness, that is deeply characteristic of habitual thinking. And when we remember we're part of each other, because we are, and part of the world, we begin to challenge that, and that is the third refuge. That actually only Buddhas do this practice as alone individuals. That's one of the definitions of being a Buddha. We're Buddhettes, we need each other, and so that's why Sangha is the third of the triple gems, because I need to know that you're with me on this, that your efforts are supporting my efforts and my efforts are supporting your efforts. And it actually makes a difference. It does. That's why we come together, because collectively something different happens when we practice together. And I just want to drop that a little further in. It's not just that we're not alone. It's that we're all experiencing, in general, the same thing. We all feel lost sometimes, really lost sometimes. We all feel caught in different stories, whatever those stories are. We all feel controlling or compulsive or depressed and don't have any faith or hope. We We all feel those things. That is in our field. It is we share that with each other in the deepest ways. And given that reality inside of us and outside of us, can you feel how important it is to be moved into, oh, it's not just that I'm in Sangha or that I'm physically like online and I can see everyone's picture. It's that I am actually working this not just for myself, but for everyone, because we are all in the same field. Like, it's funny because I was talking to my sister, it was her birthday. We had a birthday dinner yesterday evening. And I saying, you know, I just feel moved so much more to do more political work, but then I'm also wanting to teach more. And she just said, teach more. We need that. All us in political activism, we need this perspective as well. This remembering of feeling our connection through ourselves. When I know I feel lost, it isn't just me, it's everyone who is feeling lost. And so I'm feeling it for everyone. And when I plant the seed, I'm not just planting the seed for this little being here. I'm planting the seed for everyone. May I turn in kindness. I mean, just that. May we all, as I turn, may this be the ground in the field of all beings somewhere on the other side of the world, feeling that impulse to turn in kindness. And then there's actually no separation between practice and our political work. So that seems like that's a good sort of introduction for the day, a very kind of meandering triple gem. But let's just more formally, for those of us who like to be formal, let's just formally take the refuges. If you feel comfortable doing it. I take refuge in my Buddha nature. I take refuge in the practice that awakens it. I take refuge in the communities that I'm practicing with. For the second time, I take refuge in my Buddha nature. For the second time, I take refuge in the practices that awaken this. For the second time, I take refuge in the communities who practice with me. For the third time, I take refuge in my Buddha nature and our Buddha nature. For the third time, I take refuge in the practices that awaken this. For the third time, I take refuge in the communities everywhere in all realms who join me in this practice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And so again, greetings, body, greetings. Thank you for carrying my intentions just beginning. Can you all hear me well? Is it good? Yeah. Just greetings that you carry my intentions, reconnecting with your intentions, giving thanks to your bodies for carrying them. And see if you can feel that in your body, the intentions you called in, the refuges you called in. That means letting go of the thinking process and relaxing. There's another process happening, so you don't have to control it. Relaxing in the feet. The lower back or pelvic area. You can even imagine that relaxation happening. The shoulders and jaws. Just offering the invitation is enough, not insisting on an experience. And just in the beginning for all of us, see how the breath is. Staying connected to the whole body. Notice where the breath touches the body. Just where does it touch? If it's in the movement of the chest, or shoulders, or back, abdomen. Or in the flow of air past the tip of the nostrils. Cool going in and warm coming out. Notice the quality that you are bringing. Just that intention to be kind, to be present, but not insisting on it, offering it as a seed. Breath in the field of your intention. Or it could be noticing the sensations in your hands, if that's predominant, or in the sitting. Or something else that is predominant. My intention is to allow you. And if it's helpful to keep coming back to the anchor that works for you, breath, sensation, or maybe sound. Not to get something, but to be in relationship to how it is. And to guide into being present by anchoring with something you can keep returning to. We just keep beginning again, returning with the intention you called into being. Relaxed and alert. If you feel you're struggling, inviting your Buddha nature to do the breathing for you, the whole field of presence, letting that do it. Relaxing, allowing it. The mind might have wandered off, no problem. Again and again, how am I relating to myself? However it is, no problem. May I hold that with kindness. May I hold my body sensations with kindness. Whatever frustration might be there, or may I hold you with kindness. Sounds with kindness. And if there isn't kindness, no problem. I'm just planting the seed. It will blossom and grow. That's the law of karma. So I can relax. Returning for these last few minutes. Thank you for your efforts. So we have about 25 minutes or so for walking meditation. I studied with a teacher, U and a number of times, and he said that, or was it Upandita? Huh. Oh, I can't remember. I think it was U who, yes, was U who said that there's hardly a minute that goes by when craving, wanting, doesn't enter into the mind. So, and this is from a master with a very deep practice. He was talking about his own mind. So, that he noticed the wanting, this wanting. And I think it's so lovely as a community to acknowledge that wanting, or not wanting, depending on our personalities, or being confused about whether we're wanting or not wanting. So it's so lovely to acknowledge that the reality of this culture, which is based on wanting or not wanting, that it also lives inside of ourselves, and that in this commitment to transform ourselves and to transform our culture, we're acknowledging that. We're acknowledging there is wanting outside of us and inside of us. And how lovely not to go into judgment, but rather to notice, to become curious, because some of us call curiosity in as an intention, to become curious with, well, how does that work? How is wanting or not wanting working in my mind? In fact, can I be a beginner, which is in the Zen tradition very emphasized as like begin again, begin again, begin again, but can I be a beginner without any expectation of this next sitting? Like throw everything out the window and like, how is it? How am I with it? How am I, just as if we each were in a scientific experiment and were going to report out afterwards, wow, this is the nature of the human mind. Because this is my mind, this is its nature. And I'm just recording it, I'm just knowing it. So that's one part, that's the That's the sort of bringing presence as without any agenda to this mind-body process. But it also has a friendliness to it. Hi, human being, Arinna, mind, that's part of the universe. Oh, I'm here as a friend in this inquiry. And then I'm also have the intention to become a non-judgmental companion in this inquiry. I want to companion this life in my inquiry as I'm a total beginner. I'm not bringing any expectation to this next practice period. However it is just going down into the big Buddhist book of this is this mind on the state, this is how it is. Okay? And you don't have to report it. So, although it would be fun in the group inquiry for some of us to report, well, this is how it was in that meditation, but you don't have to. And then let's see, how is it? How is it? This is what I'm learning. And just to say one thing, in this environment of bringing this alert inquiry or presence or mindfulness, they're all part. Mindfulness includes this aspect of being interested and curious. When there is no agenda, the touch of this presence that is curious, that's like the best therapy in the world, which we've experienced from our lovers, our friends, and our therapists, and our meditation teachers and priests and rabbis, and any moment when we bring that I am fully here, curious, without an agenda for you. And this part, I'm emphasizing no agenda. Present, curious, friendly, no agenda. Just, this is a whole new experience, and it's like being on a capsule and landing on the moon. We're all in the capsule. This is a totally new adventure. What are we discovering? Okay, let's try it on. So, and feel free to move to be more comfortable if you need, because it's being painful in your position, feel free to move if you need to, to go onto a bench, to sit on a chair, to come back again, whatever you need to do, to lie down especially. That's fine too, there's space here to lie down, if lying down is helpful. And lying down for those of you online as well. So now the adventure begins, because how do you begin to come into connection with yourself? No agenda, just that's a question. How? How do I find my connection? Do I want to try something new? Or enter in the ways that I've heard about or are known? And perhaps it's helpful for you to language your intention of how you would like to be curious and to come into this connection with yourself without any agenda, without trying for anything except to be on this adventure of learning. If there's some intuition or movement, then go with it. it feels like you need to anchor with a sensation of the feet or the breath, then please feel free to anchor the in and out breath or sensations in the body or sounds. The mind might have wandered off, no problem. Acknowledging that and see how you would like to return. Thank you. Thank you for your practice. So let's take 15 minutes to come back just so that we're in a circle at 12:30, and we can move into our group sharing inquiry and see what is calling you, if you would like to go for another walk or do yoga or tai chi or qigong or any of those other practices that you might have. There are 84,000 gateways into the Dharma, I'll say that. And there are several that are arising for me at the moment. And I want to go back to what arose in my mind. And I was like, do I really want to talk about this? But it's what came to my mind. I spent some 11 years of my life growing up in London, in Kentish Town, which was at that time a working class suburb in northwest London. And like most parts of London, the pub was where a lot of the community met. It wasn't just like a bar in America. It was really like a gathering place for people. And there usually was a guideline that you couldn't drink if you were under 16 without an adult, or you needed to be 18. But because it was a community space, they pretty much ignored that. So I remember being a total rebel and hating school, going to hang out in the pub in the afternoon. And I was like seated at the bar with some of the older guys whose names I've forgotten that I knew then. And they were talking about the war and saying there was a way in which they missed it so much because there was such amazing camaraderie. And it's like somehow that touches me so much, that because the suffering was so acknowledged and exposed, and you couldn't pretend anymore. You know, it was just so bad being bombed in the ways that if you've traveled to parts of Europe, you already have seen, but how the bombing is continuing in different parts of the world, that it's so bad that there is often this movement just to like, what can I do to help? You know, just what can I do to help? And that's true also for those of us in the middle of the bombing, I should say. And that's also true for when, like myself, we've been diagnosed with a serious diagnosis like cancer. And then there's this movement, what can I do to help? And the struggle and the pain that we are experiencing sometimes or often inside of ourselves is like that. We are also carrying with us the equivalent of a serious diagnosis or a war from everything that we've grown up with and lived with. But we don't have the culture of acceptance around that. If we pretended for a moment, then of course we are in pain. And of course we can't hold it all the time. And that's happening for all of us at one point or another. And so we as communities get to say to each other, of course, how can I help? And we get to say it as importantly to ourselves, of course, honey. I'm here only as much as I can bear. And I might not be able to bear it at all at the moment, but I want you to know I want to, that I am committing myself to in the future. Because that is the reality. When the Buddha says dukkha is the first noble truth and we're living with it, he's acknowledging that the pain of living in environments of such harming, whether it's trauma in our families or war or apartheid or the wars that are continuing now, we aren't immune to that and the suffering of that. Like those guys in the pub, they were saying, how can we keep acknowledging that reality so we're not building a defense of I should be different than I am, that we are in pain and that we do not have to pretend that it is scary, painful, that we find ourselves caught in cycles. That's okay. That is how it is. And sometimes we can't hold it alone, and we have to hold it as a community. In that sense, someone said that to me, but I can't remember who. Someone was reminding me in some conversation that I used to love quoting Ribeiro Darcy, who said, I've been part of a revolution, I think it was in Chile, and I've wanted to build more equity so there's not so much poverty, and I've wanted to build more equal access to education and to free ourselves to become more of a democracy, and I failed in everything. And I appreciate my failures because it meant I tried. And I love that. I love that we try and we fail and we try and we fail because there's this wish to find the path of healing. And it isn't straightforward, and intention isn't a straightforward relationship. It isn't like I can intend to love and then suddenly I'm full of love. No, it's like I'm sowing and sowing and sowing and sowing. And it's like, when is it going to rain? God. So that love can blossom and hold my broken down life. It isn't a straight relationship. And so we say, I love that I'm failing all the time, because that's what's happening. And when there is too much to hold, then it actually is important not to keep trying, but to move to the practices of appreciative joy and gratitude. Like, it's too much sometimes for the mind to hold the suffering and pain, and we need to turn towards what we're grateful for, because that's rejuvenating and strengthening. And we have to, if it's too much, it's saying you need to rest and rejuvenate. And so we go to the practices that are rejuvenating. And that means looking at what we're grateful for, looking at the beautiful qualities inside of us and appreciating them, resting on them, recollecting them, doing metta. And I think that's one of the arts of practice, is knowing when to move to those practices. Or if that is too much, and sometimes those are too much, then sitting in meditation and doing maths problems. That, I do not know why that works, but it works. It does. Like, I've done 3-month retreats where I could hardly meditate. And I sat and I sang Humpty Dumpty songs and Ring Around the Rosie songs, because I could sing those in the meditation hall, and I did maths problems. And there was something about it that was strengthening for the mind. It was restful. So I do not, I think we get so stuck in thinking that we have to do it just one way, and we don't. Because the Buddha gave millions of different support, pieces of support to different people, and we've heard about that. I mean, sometimes he with his magical powers turned someone into an old woman so they could really experience old age. And they got impermanence. Or sometimes he told a woman to knock on all the doors and ask if anyone had died in the house. He didn't say be mindful. He said go learn about that you are part of a life in a different way. Hold it in a different context so it's not so overwhelming. So what's at the base of this is no shame, no blame, no judgment. Whatever is happening, that's the ground root. I am someone who does not deserve to be forced into a mold of no pain, when reality is painful. I am sacred. I do not need to be forced into being mindful in the traditional ways when I can't. I'm going to do math problems. And I just mean 25 and 57. Okay, 5 and 7 is 12, right? And then carry 1 over. 2 and 5 is 7, 8. That's, okay, I did that. That's, it built that, and that's why I started with the refuges, because when we're sensitive, which we are, what's going on in the world and our conditioning reflects back to us this distorted image of ourselves. And that distortion doesn't include love and respect. It doesn't include learning. And we are challenging that distorted image and saying, no, how I am, that there is something important here to learn. I am not about trying to mold myself into what a Dharma student is supposed, or Dharma teacher is supposed to be. I am living here trying to figure out how to work with dukkha. And that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing here. And it is trial and failure, trial and failure, and trial and failure. and then we get it, and then it's trial and failure, and then we get it, you know, and then might be a smooth ride for a bit, and then it's like, where did it go? No, I have to get it back again. That used to be so easy and lovely, and what happened? And, you know, and it's a very big deal to let go of ease and to bow down to the pain that we're carrying and the lack of ease and the lack of concentration and samadhi and the lack of whatever, grace. But that is where we find grace. Grace, you know, that's what Bishop Tutu said about Mandela, that Mandela needed the suffering he went through for 27 years in order to negotiate with de Klerk, because he needed that grace and that humility to be able to find a way through, because he was facing dukkha. You know, that's the thing, the dukkha that we face and we learn about means we can face it when we're negotiating with someone else, because we've learned how to negotiate it with ourselves. And that's what the Iranians did in the negotiations with Trump. They brought in a psychologist. Did you know that? Yeah, they brought that. I learned that in Substack with Jeremy Scahill. Because they couldn't find a way to negotiate with him. And they said it was helpful because they didn't know how to work with a mind that was so in trauma that what was going on didn't make any sense. So, yeah, that's 27 years. Like, imagine the grace that you come to of 27 years in a prison that was so disgracefully disrespectful and harmful. Then you're like, oh my God, I don't have anything to lose anymore except to find what's most important in this broken life and my broken in jail and my broken body and my broken mind. That's, you know, full of. Mandela, when younger, was angry, as like that's exactly what happens. We get pissed off when we face our suffering. And my parents too, living in South Africa, growing up early in South Africa, enraged at what was going on, in the way we're enraged at what is going on here. And so, yes, of course, and then we begin to find out that it's not so fun to live with rage all the time. So then how do I heal my rage? And as I heal my rage, then I come to the brokenness inside of myself. And now we're like, how do I hold that brokenness, that pain, that desperate grief and fear? And I don't think there's anything more sacred than that sacred journey of turning only when we can, not with force, and holding those places. And that love comes from that, really. Because there's nothing else that we can do but that. Learn to love what is broken inside of ourselves and not expect ourselves to be perfect. So, yeah, I feel so sad for us because no one taught that to us when we were young, but we deserve that. And I feel sad for us because so many of the members of our big family are so lost that the only way they know to live is to go into defense and harm. And so when we struggle with ourselves in the way we do not just for ourselves, but because we're keeping a stream of a different way of living alive. And that is doing this work. We're not just doing it for ourselves. I know you know that, but I have to keep repeating it. We're doing it for this whole world that is in a cycle of being lost, that where there's not the capacity to work with trauma, and so it's going into revenge. And we're keeping an alternative reality alive by doing this work. And then when we can, as much as possible, inviting other people to come into it. And that's why the center is so lovely, because that's what it's doing. It's sacred, beautiful work. And then we go beyond that, when we can, to stop in the ways that we know how to stop the revenge and harming. And that's important work too, that we need to do in the ways that we can. So, but we can't lose our own heart in the process. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. In the Mahayana traditions, we focus on images of awakened mind, and we say mantras and visualizations to inhabit those energies. And this is insight meditation, so we don't really do that too much. But in this case, I would like you to bring to your mind either a beautiful image that is an image of an awakened being that you feel connected with, or an awakened teacher in this tradition or any other traditions, or someone who has touched you with love. It could just be for a moment, or it could be more. Opening up to allow them to come into your field and receiving love from them. This being in this moment is offering unconditional love to you. And it could be in energy or a color, golden orange color, or a rainbow of colors. Or like rose petals falling on you. You don't have to feel it, just imagining it. Maybe the feeling will come, but maybe it won't, that's fine. Just staying with the image of this person being offering love in this moment. And then coming into your body a little more, and seeing how it is for you as you feel this raining of love. Letting go of the image and the person, taking a moment to stay with being loved. Again, whether you feel it or not doesn't matter. You imagine it. In this imagining, allow yourself to gather up these raindrops or petals or streams of love, and now for you to shower yourself with it, or just to offer it. You can put it in a basket and put it on your lap. Here's my love, feel free whenever you're ready to receive it. Then allowing these to dissolve and coming to your body. Taking a few deep breaths. And imagine your breath being touched with this love. Love flowing in and out. Really, that is what the universe is offering. Love through air. Here, take this. Let it nourish you. And then feel free to drop all of this and see how you would like to anchor with body sensations, sound, or breath. Or if you like to take any one of these images or practices and continue it.
If the mind has wandered off, no problem. Inviting it back in. Returning for these last few minutes. See if you would like to take a moment to appreciate your efforts, the moments of returning, of your intentions. Giving thanks to ourselves and our practice and everyone that has been with us, supporting us in our endeavors. interested, rather than just like giving a lecture, I'm interested in kind of what you all think is the fruition of this path you're on. Like, don't say nirvana. Tell me what that means to you. What does it mean to you? Like, in coming to this path, how do you understand what you're orienting towards or aiming towards? What are you aiming towards? Yes.
For me, I have retired in the last 5 years, and that has helped me spend more. When I first started meditating, it was just to get rid of the stress of work or to reduce the stress, which was good. And in that process, I learned that I had an internal garden, for lack of a better word, that I had no idea about. And once I discovered that, I wanted to keep visiting it. A maze, a garden of internal life. Because most of my life, I'm an adult child of an alcoholic, and I was a teacher, and both of those things really help you focus on everybody else. So for me, my path is to focus on myself. Like, what colors am I seeing?
Right.
Well, how do my feet feel?
Right.
All of those.
Right.
And it has led me to more creative practices in painting and writing, creative writing. And so I think that's like a 12-step thing, focus on yourself. But it really, not in the selfish way, but just to know what's going on in the internal garden, and to read poetry that aids that, and other novels that creative. So that's my
Thank you.
journey.
That's lovely, and it's lovely because, that's lovely. And as we continue to explore our lives and not focus so much on the outside, but also include a focus on our inside. The Buddha said that there is a natural process that begins to strengthen and awaken until we are free. And that's so deep. That feels so deep to me, to talk about freedom, because a lot we talk about freedom on the outside, and which we know is like can be, and we want it to be, the conditions that support the integrity and flow and life of all life, human beings and water beings and air beings and earth beings and all expressions of life. That expression of resourced and being free to live life in that natural expression. And I'm just wondering, because I am going to guess that each of you in moments have lived in moments your life in a free expression, like without any obstacles or constrictions or thoughts that have taken you away from a natural connection, but that there has been a free flow of life. And or moments of unity where the experience is there is no place of separation. I am in the world as the world without being a separate being. Or in the flow of movement, of change. I remember I was running, I used to run, and I was running down this hill in Garberville, and it was a very dirt road. And I remember just making the choice to let go and let my feet find, because it was a very uneven dirt road with big rain gullies, just find the path. And I felt like I was running with the change of universe, like that flow, that natural flow of, in time, I was running without, I didn't look at all where I was running. And so those are glimpses of deeper and deeper ways of being, where eventually there are no obstacles ever at all. None. And that is the possibility of full awakening. And what does that mean exactly when we say there are no obstacles? Because the Buddha is actually so clear about it. He says a mind that is free of all clinging, wanting, craving, obsession, compulsion, hatred, anger, irritation, fear, revenge, sloth, torpor, anxiety, conceit, comparing mind, and confusion and delusion. All of those, they don't hang out anymore inside ourselves. They don't arise, they don't live, they don't pass through us, they're gone forever. That is a fully awakened mind. And so then there's this response of no distortion, seeing absolutely clearly what's happening, and always a wise response to that. And I'm thinking about that because I've been contemplating my own distortions. And I've been contemplating that in relationship to Dharma Dena Meditation Center, where I was the guiding teacher, and how the particular distortion I've been contemplating is the internalized racism I grew up with as a white person. And I think it's very hard, or I would say maybe even impossible, to grow up as a white person without having received distorted information about myself and about people of color. And when I think about a difficult situation that happened with the people of color community at the center, I believed I said and did the right thing. And then on reflection, many years later, I see that I didn't. And I personally would love to move in the world without that distortion. And the other distortions that we inherit, some of the distortions live inside of us for particular reasons. Some of you have heard this many times before, but I want to say it again. because it's been so helpful for me. In the moments of not being connected, there is a kind of fear that happens, and I don't know if you've seen that inside yourself. I see it in myself a lot. In moments of disconnection, like, oh, exactly where am I? I can't quite feel my breath, what's going on? Or I'm just maybe making too much effort and I'm moving into some altered realm. Or when I'm being asked to let go of something and I feel this fear, I notice that the fear that I experience feels wrong, feels somehow like a mistake, and that I want to find my place again. And that place or identity, or feeling like, oh no, I want it more fixed. I want to feel like I can relax because I know this is my place. Is very linked to that whenever that sense of this is who I am gets challenged, there is this place of wanting to defend myself, of wanting to come back into, no, but I really think I was right, or I know I am right, or how on earth could you say that? You know, like I notice I become self-righteous about it. And I definitely feel that when I listen to the political, when I hear the news, not the political, when I hear what's happening to human beings, I feel self-righteous. And I notice the self-righteousness is part of this identity of I'm not doing that and they are, and they have no right to, and that somehow it's threatening me. And I want to name it because I want to explore what are the ways I perceive the world where I have this response that actually separates me. That's the experience, that I feel separate. And it's out of that separation and that sense of maybe my identity is being challenged that I dig down deeply. But it doesn't even have to be that deep. It could be that I work with a family member who is like, just make a decision. We've been talking about this for days, for God's sake. And I feel so righteous because they're taking longer than I think they should. And all of it is in the sense of an I. And the more I explore my mind and the places where there's constriction and defense, the more I find the sense of I, that I don't think this should be happening, that I think you're taking too long. I am right. It's kind of amazing that this is what is living. I don't think it's just me that this is happening in, that this is what's living inside of us. And if I really want to be free, which I do, I really want to be free, then I'm being invited to look at how I'm constructing things when it revolves around an I. Because there isn't any freedom in it. And I don't think the teachings in this developmental process ask us to explore the sense of I. Where are we noticing it? It has been for me, and maybe for you, a long journey of unearthing some of the experiences that I've had that have been part of a deep inner defense and constriction, that have supported a sense of I out of survival. So I don't want to just like criticize it and say, oh, this is all bad. I want to respect that my survival, and maybe some of your survival, has depended on defending that sense of I, because our lives felt at stake in one way or another. And the anger I felt as a young person, and I was very angry. There was a lot of anger coming through me as a young person, and I acted it out all over the place. It felt like survival. And so I want to bow down to that and give thanks to I used what was available to me in order to survive. And now I have more resources. And so I am exploring the places where that still operates, and I'm creating a separation and a division of I-ness. And it is happening around the growth of fascism in this country. I notice how I separate myself from those movements as though I am totally pure already, and everyone who's embroiled in these movements is wrong and bad. And in the same way, I have unconsciously harmed people of color, for example, or in my second marriage to someone from a very poor working class family, I used my languaging skills, having come from a family that had a lot of books and education, to dominate our arguments. I would come in and I would analyze and interpret her. And she would say to me, you have all the power. I say, I don't, you can talk. You can say your thing. But then whatever she said, I would reframe it. And I had no idea that is what I was doing. But that is another privilege that I was totally unconscious of, part of my own self-construction that I wasn't even really aware of until I had a friend who invited me to go to class consciousness raising, and I saw, oh my God, I am selfing. I have created an identity out of this, out of class, out of my class privilege. And so I learned, when we were in an argument, to ask her first, tell me how you're feeling, and not to respond until the next day. And it was like an incredible challenge because I felt so self-righteous. But I love that. I love getting to know the signs of separation, where I am making someone not as good as me, wrong. She's still a student and learning. No, I wasn't that bad, but still. Maybe I was. When we talk about loving kindness and compassion and appreciative joy and equanimity, we often talk about it more in the abstract and not in relationship to what's going on in our lives in terms of creating and sustaining a defended I. Because really those are the tools of dismantling those energies. And so my practice when I hear the news and what's going on is to go to how I have done and continue unconsciously to act out my privilege in ways that harm. And then I take what's happening outside of me as an inspiration to look at what I'm doing myself. Because I haven't taken people's lives, I haven't killed, I haven't murdered. And my harming hasn't been on the scale that harming is taking place. But if I was in that position and I was younger, I would have harmed a lot more. And I think it is incredibly beautiful, which is what the Buddha is inviting us to do, is to look at how we take positions and opinions of things where we don't include ourselves in how we've harmed. Like we make ourselves in some way self-righteous and only good in those moments. And can we love ourselves and have compassion for ourselves and forgive ourselves in those places? Because that is what we use for survival. And now we have enough strength in moments to begin to turn with caring towards those places and say, honey, I'm here for you. I'm right here for you in caring. I hold those places living inside of you with compassion. And because I can do that some of the time, I can hold people outside of myself who are harming with that same compassion. And then I'm in a world where we are all on a path. Some of us are in that place of extremely unconscious playing out of harming. And some of us are in much more conscious explorations around it. And that doesn't mean we don't intervene. It does mean we intervene. We intervene with our love and our compassion. Because that's what's transformative. When we meet our own harming with judgment, shame, and blame, there is no field for healing. What's so incredible about this, it's because I talked to my ex recently on the phone of my second marriage. And so I think of our divorce, where I could not stop thinking about how wrong she was. I can't believe she said this and did this. I mean, I was outraged. I was outraged at what she said and did. And it was like, and I was practicing being a good Dharma student. Cut. I imagined myself as this Manjushri warrior or Amazonian warrior. I'm on a horse with a sword. Cut that thought, because I knew, and then it would come up again. Cut the thought, and then it would come up again. Cut the thought. And honestly, I would have to like stand on my head to cut the thinking. I'd have to have hot and cold showers. I'd have to run. I'd have to do all this stuff to intervene. I feel so much gratitude to all those efforts that I now have even more faith in and have much less struggle in letting go of any negative thought about myself or anyone else, so that I can bring in love and compassion to hold the whole process, because out of that comes healing. And it means that we don't demand perfection from ourselves, because we know that we're not fully enlightened and that we're on a path. So I keep on being self-righteous about things, and then I catch it and I'm like, oh, I don't have to live. I don't have to live with this anymore. I have more tools than that. I understand why I did it before, and I don't have to do it anymore. I can hold that with love. Honey, it is scary. It is deeply, deeply scary. And I hold you with love. And if I can't hold you with love, then may I in the future. Oh, there it is again. Okay, I've worked with you for 10 minutes. I'm exhausted. I'm going for a walk. I'm going to go and sing. Whatever. We find the ways to keep on resourcing, to orient towards our vision of what is an awakened mind. An awakened mind is one that lives in non-separation. There is no one who is outside in non-separation, because there's no outside. It is all connected, which it is already all connected. And that's what the Buddha was saying. We are already all connected, deeply connected. When we use the image of, that different botanists have language now, trees were always connected and communicating, but we're just learning about it now. These fungus living on the roots of trees that communicate with each other, and that trees release a scent when they feel they're being endangered by either too much heat or something else. Even when they hear elephants coming through the reverberation of the earth, and there's this sense of, oh, something's different. They communicate with other trees releasing scent, because we are in connection. And I don't. And if trees are connected, then we are so connected, right? We are so connected. Have you ever had that, like, it happened yesterday where I was just calling someone and they said, oh, I was just picking up the phone to call you. I mean, we are connected. I think I was telling Amy or Heidi that sometimes Ruth, my teacher, Ruth Denison, she would send me a letter saying, oh, I just dreamt about you. Here's a check. And it was like amazing. I was short of money, and there was this check in the mail. Like, when we're open, there is no separation. And in that communion, there is only a responsiveness to life. Because there's no reactivity. Because there's no separation. There's no separateness to defend. That is the vision the Buddha is inviting us to. And then the work of inquiring into our own reactions, which we are very reactive, looking into our reactivity, and particularly in relationship to privilege. And I'm saying that because we are particularly blind to privilege. I don't want to say blind. We are particularly lacking in awareness. There's no discernment because the way privilege is conditioned is not to know about it. So I was in a meeting of teachers actually a while ago, respected elder teachers, and we were in a teachers meeting and there were 4 men and me, and they all talked to each other. They never included me. They never looked at me. That is male privilege, where women are ignored. And it isn't that they were intentionally harming. Remember our group thing? I might have good intentions, but the impact is they weren't intending to exclude me, but they were. And totally unconscious of it. And we're doing the same thing in our privileged location. And so when we want to explore freeing ourselves of the constriction of an I, taking up this exploration is extraordinarily liberating. Okay. May we, in moments when we feel the openness, may we explore the sense of self as separate. Just when we're feeling separate, may we explore it, may we hold it, may we have compassion for it, may we bring our love to it, because that's what that sense of separation and selfing needs. It needs our love, all of our love and compassion. So I would like actually to move from this into inviting you to lie down so that we can end with a forgiveness meditation, because we need to forgive ourselves for all our unconscious ways and all the things we do know that we judge. So we're going to move into the practice of forgiveness. So let's do that. Oh yeah, blankets are around. Find any place to lie down, and lie down for those of you in the room. Inviting a relaxation again. Maybe just for a moment letting go of all the words or the efforts that we've made today. Any comparisons that have crept into your mind. Taking a moment to, as though a rain falls off our duck's back, letting everything fall away. Because the Buddha and all awakened beings say that we are always deserving of love. No matter what we've said, no matter what we've thought, or felt, or done, we are always deserving of love. Whether we believe it or not, we are always deserving of love. And the gateway to this is through forgiveness. Forgiveness allows us to be imperfect. To fall into the same habits over and over again, and we still get to forgive ourselves. May I forgive myself. For all the places I have judged myself. May I forgive myself. May I allow myself to be a student of life. To still be learning. May I allow myself to be imperfect and to make mistakes. May I forgive myself. Unburdening my heart of criticism, shame, or blame. If in saying these sentences or offerings I find myself in resistance, no problem. I just plant the seed that in future I might be able to forgive myself. For all the ways I become self-righteous and defensive, may I forgive myself. May I hold myself in compassion. For all the ways I think I know best, may I forgive myself. May I allow myself to be a student of life and still to be learning. May I allow myself to be imperfect make mistakes, fall into old patterns. May I forgive myself. May I forgive myself for insisting I learn more quickly than I am. Or for thinking I should be different than I am. May I forgive myself, unburdening my heart of all shoulds. Judgments, defense. When I'm ready, in my own timing and space and rhythm, I trust my intentions according to the law of karma will bear fruit. See if in these last minutes, if there is anything else you would like to forgive about yourself or about others in your life. With this, we come to the almost the end of the retreat. It's been a pleasure to practice with you all in person and online. I'd like to share the merit of our practice with the Board of Directors of San Francisco Dharma Collective, and to Noam and Kitty for hosting us. Thank you, thank you. And I would like to share the merit of the practice with Amy and Heidi, who hosted me for part of this visit. And for Brent for supporting me through these many years with computer work and so much more. With Dov for partnering me and being a mentee in such beautiful ways. And for all of you that I don't know so well but hope to know more. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, all online beings and our online host for hosting us. Thank you so much. I got tear. Thank you so much. May our practice contribute to our well-being and for the well-being of all beings everywhere. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a good evening, everyone. Ciao.